now filed charges against Marie Solomon, age 47, in connection with a vehicle versus pedestrian collision that resulted in the death of a 2-year-old child on February 28, 2026, at the intersection of 4th and Channel in the Mission Bay neighborhood. As is publicly known information, the mother and the 2-year-old were crossing the street in the crosswalk with the traffic signal indicating that they had the right of way to cross. Ms. Solomon approached the intersection in her SUV and collided with the mother and the child. Despite life-saving efforts, the child did not survive. Ms. Solomon has now been charged with misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter and will be arraigned tomorrow afternoon in Department 17 at 1:30 p.m. in the Hall of Justice. I want to extend my sincerest prayers and thoughts for this family, this mother who had to watch her young child die in her arms, and for everyone in this neighborhood that's been affected by this very tragic incident. It is a reminder that we have a long way to go with respect to road safety here in San Francisco, and that we must be more serious about protecting those who are pedestrians in our city and are crossing our streets, particularly our children, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
How is the determination made between simply an accident and a criminal act? What was it that took this to a place where you felt it needed to be charged as a crime?
What amounts to a misdemeanor is negligence being present. And so if it is determined that it was a negligent act on the part of the driver that caused the death, then that is what merits a criminal action with respect to a misdemeanor. If it is reckless behavior that led to the collision, then that amounts to a felony.
And what was that? Can you elaborate on what you determined was that act to lead to this?
At this point, it's a failure to yield, well, crossing into the intersection against the driver's right-of-way. The pedestrians actually had the right-of-way in this situation, as well as a failure to yield to pedestrians who are in a crosswalk.
Was there a mobile phone used? Anything like that? Anything to indicate that there was a failure to pay attention?
Right now, that's the most of the facts that I can share. More will come out, of course, as this case proceeds.
Is it true, though, that drugs and alcohol is still not a factor? I remember hearing that at the time. Or do
We have no evidence that they were a factor at all. Yeah, that would most certainly change the charges if we had a controlled substance on board. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Derek Liu, Chief of Police for the San Francisco Police Department. Today, we are joined by our public safety partners here in San Francisco, including our SFPD Investigations Bureau, the San Francisco District Attorney's Office, the FBI, and the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Northern District of California. We are here to discuss the attempted murder and arson incident that occurred early Friday outside a home in the Russian Hill neighborhood of San Francisco, as well as the subsequent threats outside OpenAI headquarters. I want to be clear, attacks like these will never be tolerated in San Francisco, and anyone who seeks to do harm in our city will be swiftly arrested and held accountable for their crimes. You will hear from our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins, and U.S. Attorney Craig Masakian, who will have more details on criminal charges in their respective jurisdictions. But before that, I want to highlight the work of our exceptional officers, who swiftly identified the suspect in this case and took him into custody. He is identified as 20-year-old Daniel Moreno Gama of Texas, and he is currently in custody in San Francisco County Jail. We are a safe city thanks to our officers and law enforcement partners. And this case illustrates our preparedness and ability to successfully navigate the unexpected. You will hear shortly from Deputy Chief Luke Martin, the head of our Investigations Bureau. He will detail some of the facts of this case as we currently know them. He will also briefly discuss yesterday's arrest of 2 individuals involved in a shooting incident in the same area of Russian Hill. As of right now, we do not have evidence to suggest these cases are related. I also want to stress that these cases are still active investigations and continue to move rapidly. Investigators have been working around the clock and following multiple leads both locally and outside of California. I want to thank our partners at the FBI for their assistance in this investigation and continued partnership. I'll now turn this over to Deputy Chief Luke Martin.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Chief Lou. My name is Luke Martin. I'm the Deputy Chief of Investigations at the San Francisco Police Department. As the Chief said, I will give you a brief overview of the facts of this case as we know them. I want to remind everyone that this case is active and is moving rapidly, so there are some details we unfortunately will not be able to discuss today. On Friday, April 10th, at approximately 4:12 a.m., San Francisco police officers from Central Station were dispatched to the report of someone throwing an incendiary device at a home in the Russian Hill neighborhood. Officers swiftly responded to the scene where they met with firefighters and security personnel. The officers determined that a suspect had thrown a Molotov cocktail at the gates of the home before fleeing the area on foot. Thankfully, witnesses on scene extinguished the fire and no one was hurt. While on scene, our officers reviewed security footage and broadcast an image of the suspect department-wide. Approximately 1 hour later, at 5:07 a.m., officers from Southern Station responded to the 1400 block of 3rd Street where a subject was threatening to burn down the headquarters of OpenAI. Officers took the subject into custody and immediately recognized him as the same individual from the earlier incident on Russian Hill. The individual, identified as Daniel Moreno Gama of Texas, was in possession of additional incendiary devices as well as flammable liquid and a lighter. Officers seized the evidence and booked Moreno Gama into San Francisco County Jail. Our investigators also contacted the FBI and began working jointly to follow leads outside of California. I want to thank our partners at the FBI for their assistance with this ongoing investigation. We also had a shooting incident early Sunday morning in that same area of Russian Hill. In that case, officers learned that a vehicle with 2 occupants drove past a residence when the gunfire erupted. No one was shot or injured in that incident. Our investigators identified the vehicle associated with the gunfire and executed a search warrant on the 2000 block of Taylor Street. Officers arrested 2 individuals and seized 3 firearms. Amanda Tom, 25, and Muhammad Hussein, 23, were booked in jail for negligent discharge of a firearm. At this time, we do not have any evidence to suggest this incident was related to the case on Friday, but both cases remain active. If anyone has information about these cases, please contact the San Francisco Police Department at 415-575-4444 or text a tip to tip 411 and begin the message with SFPD. Now I want to welcome Acting Special Agent in charge of the FBI's San Francisco Field Office, Matt Cobo.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it, Chief Lou. Thank you. My name is Matt Cobo. I serve as the Acting Special Agent in charge for San Francisco FBI. Today's charges outline a dangerous and deliberate plan to to bring violence into San Francisco. The defendant is alleged to having traveled across state lines with the intent to both target an individual and a major technology company. This was not spontaneous. This was planned, targeted, and extremely serious. The FBI brings unique authorities and capabilities in cases like this, and especially with threats across state lines. This law enforcement team here, they move quickly, identify the suspect, assess the threat, and coordinate across multiple jurisdictions. As part of this investigation, the FBI today executed a court-authorized search warrant at the defendant's residence located in Spring, Texas. This showed our ability to be able to act in partnership anywhere across this country. Whether a threat begins just across the road or across the country, the FBI has a reach and the resources to respond. Let me be clear. We will not tolerate the individuals coming into our areas of responsibility to carry out acts of violence. If you travel here with the intent of harming our people, damaging our property, and intimidating our communities, you will be identified, investigated, and brought to justice. The FBI is committed to protecting our nation's innovation leaders and the companies that drive our economy forward. Whether they come from individuals, these individuals can come from threat groups or criminal enterprises, we're going to meet that threat and address it accordingly. Acts targeting technology companies are not just local crimes, they have broader implications in economic security and public safety. This case highlights the strengths of partnerships. That's clear today. SFPD officers were absolutely critical in an immediate response and investigations on the ground, and they continue to investigate with the absolute incredible professionalism. The San Francisco District Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office ensure these cases are charged appropriately and pursued aggressively. We are a united front here, and we are going to keep this city of San Francisco safe. I want to thank the investigators, the analysts, the partnerships for their swift efforts in moving this case forward. We will continue to stand vigilant. We will work together and use every tool available to prevent violence and protect this great city of San Francisco. Now I'll turn it over to our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you. I first and foremost want to say that I'm grateful that Mr. Altman, his family, and his employees were uninjured in these attacks and are safe. I want to thank the San Francisco Police Department, the FBI, and all of our federal partners, as well as those law enforcement agencies in Texas, for their swift attention to this and the level of partnership that took place in order to make sure that we could build a chargeable case. My office has now filed charges against Daniel Moreno Gama in connections with the incidents that took place on April 10th. First, I will outline the charges in connection with the incident that took place at Mr. Altman's residence. We have charged as follows: attempted murder for victim Sam Altman, including an allegation that it was willful, deliberate, and premeditated, as well as an enhancement for the possession and use of a deadly weapon, which was the incendiary device. Attempted murder for the security guard that was at Mr. Altman's home with the same allegation and enhancement. We have charged attempted arson of the home in violation of Penal Code Section 455, subsection A, possession of a destructive device in a public place in violation of Penal Code Section 18715, subsection A, possession of a destructive device or explosive with the intent to injure or intimidate in violation of Penal Code Section 18740, and exploding or igniting a destructive device with the intent to murder in violation of Penal Code Section 18745. With respect to the incident that took place at the OpenAI headquarters, we have charged the following crimes: attempted criminal threats as it relates to the security guard that was present, as well as an allegation of use of a deadly weapon, possession of a deadly weapon. A violation of Penal Code Section 453, subsection A, which makes it a crime to possess or manufacture an incendiary device with the intent to willfully or maliciously commit arson. And a third charge, which is attempted arson in violation of Penal Code Section 455, subsection A. Be assured that this conduct is being taken seriously. We interpret this behavior for just what it is: an attempt on Mr. Altman's life and an extreme danger to those around him and those who work for his company. As the DA, my office will prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law. This should also be a moment where our nation reflects on the often incendiary rhetoric that is being used in discussions about artificial intelligence and its future impacts on our society. In no way should we be at the point where a man could have lost his life over differences of opinion and concerns. We must, as I've said before about political rhetoric, turn down the temperature of our discussions and engage in healthy dialogue. We must focus on solutions towards protecting our workforce and protecting each other. But as we have said today, this type of conduct, this type of behavior is something that we will investigate and prosecute fully, and it will never be accepted in San Francisco. I would like to now turn it over to the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, Craig Masakian.
Thank you, DA Jenkins. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Craig Masakian, the United States Attorney for the Northern District of California. Earlier today, my office filed federal charges against Daniel Moreno-Gama, the individual who is suspected of traveling to San Francisco from Texas in order to kill the CEO of a major AI company. Before describing the allegations in our federal complaint, I want to emphasize that what I'm about to describe are just that. They are allegations. Every defendant is entitled to a presumption of innocence unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. As alleged in the federal complaint, in the early morning hours of April 10th, Mr. Moreno-Gama traveled to two neighboring residences in San Francisco owned by the CEO. He allegedly approached the residences, threw a Molotov cocktail that caused a fire, and then fled. He then went to the headquarters of the AI company, attempted to break the glass doors of the building with a chair, and said that he had come to burn down the location and kill everyone inside. SFPD gratefully promptly responded. They found the incendiary devices, kerosene, a lighter, and a document that Mr. Moreno had apparently authored. This document contained views opposed to AI and AI executives and reflected that the author had killed or attempted to kill the CEO. The federal complaint contains two charges, one count of violating 26 U.S.C. 5861 subsection D, possession of an unregistered firearm, and 18 U.S.C. 844I, damage and destruction of property by means of explosives. We are at the beginning of this investigation, but if the evidence shows that Mr. Moreno-Gama executed these attacks to change public policy or to coerce government or other officials, we will treat this as an act of domestic terrorism and together with our partners prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. One final word to echo what DA Jenkins said. I want to remind people to disagree. It is okay to disagree. It is okay to debate. This is a country that was built on both. But remember, the truth is often found in that very narrow space where two competing ideas come together and clash, and we will not tolerate any attempt to change the way Americans live and work or think through fear or violence. I want to thank the San Francisco Police Department and Chief Liu, the FBI, Special Agent Cobo, DA Jenkins, for supporting the very quick action that was taken in this case. Everybody jumped into action, worked together with one goal only in mind, and that was to protect the safety of Mr. Altman, his family, the people that work for his company, and the residents of this community. I also want to take a moment to commend one of the lawyers from my office, Alexis James, who is with us here today. She worked night and day over the weekend to do everything that was necessary to charge the defendant and to facilitate and to arrange for the searches, the very important searches that occurred in Texas. So to Alexis, thank you. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Take a couple questions, you guys, but I want to emphasize what everyone said here. This is an ongoing investigation, and there's a lot of details we're not going to be able to speak to. So let's start with Sergio.
I am curious about the contents of that document and if that's going to have any, is that one of the reasons why attempted murder is probably going to be playing into these charges as well?
Yes, I mean, we do have indications of what his intent was from those documents and statements that he made, but the contents therein we are not going to share at this time. Not only is it an ongoing investigation, but this is also a case where we are not going to further his platform of hate and his intent to cause further harm.
Well, two questions. Just to follow up on that last one, would you categorize that statement as a manifesto? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And the other, just to follow up, and then the other question is how do you run parallel prosecutions in this case without running into prosecutorial issues of prosecuting somebody twice for the same incident? I know that this has come up before in cases where there are federal charges and local charges. How do you balance that, and how do you find that middle ground?
I mean, I think we can both speak to this, but we have had considerable conversation already about how our offices will plan to proceed and that there will be continued communication. Yes, we can run into legal hurdles down the line when you have parallel prosecutions. Our job right now is to make sure that he is prosecuted in the manner that he should be. There are crimes for which there's federal jurisdiction. We have different exposures when it comes to consequences, and so needing to make sure that, again, we protect both prosecutions, it will require communication and work between our offices.
I agree with that. This is a case, obviously you have an individual who lives in the city of San Francisco and his family and his company, so it makes perfect sense for the DA and SFPD to step in. It is their job, and they do a great job at it of protecting the residents and of the city and county of San Francisco. But at the same time, there are very significant national, federal interests in this case that we need to explore. And at this point, we will file the federal charges, the state will file their charges. The two investigations will most likely run in tandem. And at some point down the road, if it makes sense for one or the other to step back, that's a possibility. But right now, we feel that there are interests on both sides, the state and the federal side. And it is important for both sides to file charges. And I do not anticipate any issues going forward because of that.
Okay, so what do those charges actually lead to? How many years behind bars? And the question from Houston, from the stations in Houston is asking if you guys know what college he went to. Those two questions.
I can answer the college. So we don't have a confirmation that he is attending school right now, but the college that he was affiliated with at some point over the last year was called the Lone Star College. And I believe that was in Montgomery, Texas.
For our state charges, he is facing 19 years to life in prison.
He's currently in state custody, and I anticipate he will make his appearance in state court tomorrow. Then we will decide. We don't have a specific date when he will appear in federal court, but that's something we will work out through dialogue with the DA's office.
John, he had been in town at least since Monday and staying in a hotel in the Union Square area. Can you tell me in any way what you think he might have been doing in those days we've reported this? Can anybody tell me what he might have been doing in those 3 days before the attack?
So yeah, so we're still, obviously it's a very active investigation. We're still poring over a lot of evidence and movements and those things, so can't really comment about details on what he was doing leading up into this.
Can you speak at all about the gun that was found in the hotel?
No.
So two questions. One, I heard that there was no connection between the two incidents, the one involving the Molotov cocktail and then yesterday's shooting. But just to close the loop on that and clarify, in yesterday's shooting, is there any evidence that Mr. Altman was targeted or that his home was targeted? And then secondly, there's been chatter online or questions about whether the defendant in this case is at all linked to the cult-like group known as the Scythians. So could you speak to whether there's any evidence of that?
So unfortunately, same answer. It's still a lot of evidence that we're sifting through. Very active. Like everyone stated here, investigators are working around the clock to get through all that stuff. So unfortunately, I can't talk about any associations at this point or really any motivations even.
You guys, we got time for 2 more questions, okay? Right here.
Hi, so quick question. So we know in manifesto and police report, it was mentioned that there are other tech executives that he is targeting. Do we know who else is on his list? And also, a lot of people have located a Substack channel attributed to him where he talked about the existential threat of AI and detailing his core beliefs. Can we confirm whether it belongs to him? Thank you.
So let me do, I'll take the first question, and then we'll get the second question. The boss here is allowing us time here. We have the FBI and the San Francisco Police Department. We have reviewed this document you are referring to as the manifesto. We have thoroughly gone through that. We've reviewed it. We did identify individuals in that as part of our policy procedures, along with San Francisco PD. We did what we call is duty to warn. And all those, I think we have every one of those people identified. We touch base with them. We understand what it is, and we do not assess that there's any specific threat to any of those through the course of this weekend. No, we will constantly be vigilant. As the chief had mentioned here, we got a lot of work to do on this particular investigation, going through social media accounts, conducting more interviews. There's a lot more work to be done, and if we uncover any of that, that's our one priority here, is to protect this city, to protect this tech sector, and protect the people of this country. And so we will do that. But that duty to warn and those efforts were made very, very quickly on Friday and through the weekend. The second question? I'm, just out of protecting those people right out this time now. Yeah, thank you.
Last question.
The second Substack question. The Substack channel is...
Yes. We got a lot of work to do on that, but yeah, there was that referenced in the document that we believe he drafted, and we're going to follow that to the conclusion. Thank you.
Working alone? Are there other suspects being investigated, or do you believe they have acted alone?
So I'll go ahead and take it. So, I mean, that's part of our investigation, right? Especially with San Francisco PD and the FBI, we take a look at the entire picture, and that includes identifying any co-conspirators, any people who have any information about it, and that's when this group of chiefs here and our prosecutors, we are going to take a meticulous look at every single thing in this particular case. I mean, this is targeted as CEO of a very critical company here, not only in San Francisco, but for our country, and so we're going to do our darndest to cut that investigation completely through.
You guys, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. You guys have our email and our phone number if you need to follow up with anything. Please reach out. Thank you.
I'm gonna charge you guys. You guys trying to take me out.
You broke that.